Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and this is Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. Wayne Tuttle, I'm your host once again. Please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, blah, 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 about section, description, www.legendofsuperstitionmountains.com. Pick up shirts in our about section, represent.com, coffee cups, hats, whatever. Dutch on a Rendezvous, 4th, 5th, 6th of November, 2022. Hope to see you there with our special guest speaker that evening, Saturday evening on the 5th, Jesse Feldman. Now into it. So we're in our third week here of kind of the Oktoberfest of Legend of the Superstition Mountains, and this one's a new story. And kind of basically around the same time period as the last one. It's probably 84, 85, maybe a little later. Kind of similar circumstance. I just went out for, and that day I was not packing in anywhere. I just went out for a hike. And I went in through Peralta Trailhead, went up to Bluff Springs, went up the Ely Anderson Trail. And that's kind of a bit of a hike, the long way around going around Miner's Needle. I prefer the cardiac route, but I figured I'd take it out that day because once you're tired, it's nice to gotta do the one uphill, but most of it's downhill and out. So I went up the Ely Anderson. I got up the top of Bluff Springs Mountain, cutting across. It's kind of flat up there. And I'm sure there's the video Randy Wright and I did. You can see there's sections of Bluff Springs Mountain. It's just wide open flat. I'm cutting across and I decided to move east. And I looked over and I saw something on a rock. And it looked like a person size. So I'm looking over. I start meandering that way. As I get closer, I realize it's someone sitting up on a rock, or at least the profile. And I just kind of quietly close the distance. As usual, being by myself, at that time I always carried a rifle. Later I'd carry a handgun, but I probably was, could have been 21, 22, but generally I always carried a rifle with me back in those days. And so I was carrying the rifle, and I'd slip the rifle off because you never know. And I see this person and I'm looking around because I'm trying to make sure. It seems odd that there's one person just sitting on a rock. And I probably got within about 40, 50 yards, and I could tell he's wearing a pale yellow shirt and like a bright multicolored skirt type thing. I could see multicolor. Looked like it was a skirt, like Mexican style, those skirts. I'm like, okay, it looks like it's a woman. So I get close enough, about 20 yards out, and I can tell it's a woman sitting there. She's got hair, it's black, streaked with gray. Looks like those knitting needles in the back. It's like in a big bun, but it has the needles in the back, you know, the two big sticks. And I'm coming at her kind of from the angle of the side, and I can tell she's reading a book. And I'm just looking at it, and it's just like the weirdest thing. And I'm being quiet as a mouse, just slowly walking up. And then I'm trying to think of how do I not scare the crap out of this woman. And then she just sets the book down and goes, "Don't shoot." And I'm like, how the hell did she see me? Because she's kind of like, I'm in her blind spot for the most part. And she turned and smiled. She probably was an older lady, probably in her 60s, 50s or 60s. But you got to always remember, the 70s, 80s, 50s, 60s today, people look like as the 80s today. It's like big difference today, what people look like and how you came across them. So she was just sitting there, had a book on her lap. She just smiled. She said, "Beautiful day, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Stop a minute." And I was just kind of like, she seemed friendly. I'm looking around though, because I'm thinking there has to be someone there with her. Approach, she's barefoot. She has sandals, of all things. She's got all the way up there. And I'm just kind of marveling at this. She's dressed, looks clean and neat. She's reading a book. There's a bag. There's no backpack. She has like one of those bags that you carry like for books and stuff, like you went shopping, and it's just sitting next to her. And I'm thinking, man, she walked all the way in here with that bag. There has to be someone, a camp around here, someone else around. So I'm just sitting there, and she just just says things occasionally, like, it's really super nice. Can you believe the weather? I think it's going to be a great fall or winter or whatever it was. And I'm just nodding yes. I'm sitting there, and then she said, why don't you have some tea with me? I got some nice iced tea. I don't know how cold it is still. And I was kind of put off because I wasn't sure who this person is or what the deal is. So I said, yeah, sure, whatever. And I'm just sitting there, got the rifle leaning against the rock, and I'm about 3-4 feet from her. And I'm looking at her, she seems very nice. You're not getting any bad vibes or energy. And I'm still kind of just looking around because I'm expecting someone to walk over. And she looks like she's Spanish more than Mexican. So it's kind of the Hispanic, but yeah, she's very light-skinned. And she just was very pleasant. So she has the thermos cup she brings out, and she pours in that and hands that to me, and then she drinks out of the container. And it's like a little sweet, a little bitter. I'm not quite sure what it is. I think she said whatever she said it was. And I could tell there was like mesquite honey in it and some stuff. And maybe trying to think of what the word is for the other thing. Not agave, but I could tell, a little bit of the citrus flavor in it. Papaya, like a papaya or something, but it still wasn't super sweet. You could tell the sweet was, And she's saying, you like the tea? I'm like, yeah. And I just sat there. And it seemed like after 15-20 minutes, I finished the little cup of tea. It wasn't much. And I drank the tea and set it down, smoked a cigarette. She lit a joint, which kind of threw me off. And I'm looking at her. She's smoking the joint, and she was just talking, I love coming up to the mountains. I love being here in the mountains. Don't you enjoy it? She said, I didn't expect to see a soul today, but this was a pleasant surprise, Da, da, da. And she never said her name. I don't think I ever gave my name. So we're sitting there talking. Then finally I realized I got to leave. I said, I'm going to be heading out. She said, okay. And I said, it was nice meeting you. She said, it was nice meeting you. And I was kind of like thinking it was very surreal. And I said, do you need help out? Are you going to be leaving? Because I'm thinking she's in sandals. She's older. Maybe she needs some help. And she goes, no, I'm fine, dear. I want to finish this. And she held up the book, and I never could tell what the book was. I'm like, okay, okay, bye. See you later. And it's been about a half hour since I'd first run into her, 40 minutes maybe, and I start walking off. And then everything gets strange because I'm walking off. And I started walking, and I'm thinking, man, that was just weird, and there's nobody else around, and I'm not quite sure what, to think of it, but I hope she's going to be okay, and all this, and I'm walking for probably 15-20 minutes, what I figure. I'm thinking, talking, and then I turn, stop, look back, and she's about 20 yards behind me, sitting on the rock still. And I was like, that's weird, because I thought I'd actually been walking for a while, but, you're just kind of lost in your thoughts. So I keep walking. And I keep walking, and then I realize it's like I'm walking through water. And I'm just kind of like, man, what the hell? And my stomach's kind of a little upset, and I'm thinking, man. So I look back, and I'm probably about 90 or 100 yards. It's probably been 45 minutes. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I'm taking like baby steps. What the hell's going on? So I'm walking, and then I'm like, oh, shit. I'm going to bet you there's mescaline or peyote in that tea because everything is driven down. And everything suddenly is getting brighter as I'm walking. So I realize the greens are super green. And I'm like, okay, I got to stay focused because I got to remember my path out of here and not get tripping out on this. So I'm walking. And I do remember I got to a point and I was like, okay, I got to go to here and then stop and then go to here and then just kind of plan it out. Because I know if I start drifting, who knows where the hell I'm going to end up in the mountains. So I'm walking and I get up and I stop. And then I'm like, shit, nothing looks familiar. And I'm on the western side of Bluff Springs. And I'm looking around and I'm trying to keep in my mind what I'm doing. I'm going back to the parking lot because I need to get to my car so I can drink some water, so I can go home, and trying to keep that repetition in my head. And I realize I'm losing it slowly. And then there's this crow, and it shows up, and then it flies down this canyon. and then it sets up, and I'm just like, yeah, just follow the crow. So everything keeps getting brighter. So anything that's probably orangish now seems red. And I just keep walking down. I get down finally, start making my way down into Barks Draw. And it must have taken me, probably only took me 2.5 hours, but I think it took me about 4.5 weeks, according to what my mind felt like. I finally get to the parking lot. My head's spinning because I'm just like, I'm tripping. And I'm thinking, man, that's not funny. But okay, I made it. Here I'm at the car. So I get in, I start drinking water, and I pour water on me, start drinking water, figure I need to kind of get my system rolling. And then I'm trying to go through my head and keep it just enough together going, okay, I'm able to think things through. I need to sleep this off a bit. I need to get some. I need to make sure I don't wander. I'm trying to kind of keep myself grounded enough. Figuring I'm not too messed up. And it was just kind of wickedly crazy because it'd be like that. And then I'd look, and then didn't have a clock in the car back then. I don't know if everybody remembers. You used to have your radio, but it was like the dial radio. So I didn't have a clock or anything telling me the time. I didn't have a fancy car like that. So I'm like, no idea time. I'm looking at the sun. I'm just trying. So I finally decided to drive the car. I'm getting out. I got onto Peralta Road, and I don't know where I pulled out. Could have been Burns Ranch or somewhere around there. But I finally pulled off the road because I realized this is not happening because I'm probably driving 5 miles an hour, and I'm fascinated by the road and and I'm just like, this is not working. And I'm like, I'm freaking high as a kite. So I pull over, find a good spot. I figure kind of off the side, a little away from the road. Nobody can see me. Shut the ignition off, roll down the windows a little. It's really nice out. Figure put the seat back and just close my eyes, let myself fall asleep. And who knows what went through my head after that. I don't have any recall of that. But I wake up in the sun setting, and it took me probably 5 minutes to figure out, okay, it's like 5-6 hours later. And I kind of feel a little more normal, but I'm really tired. And I was looking around, trying to sort things out. Kind of got outside, let the air take me, have a cigarette, drink some water, kind of get my head back wrapped around it, but then the weirdest thing happened. And to this day, I can't tell you. I seem to have 2 separate memories. Because when I was sitting there, I was thinking about it, and one memory I have is that I walked in the mountains, went up to Bluff Springs, went around, came out, was really tired, pulled off on the side of the road, and took a nap. Fell asleep for 4 or 5 hours and woke up. The other one is I went up the trail, I met this woman, she gave me some tea, and I came out. And I can tell you both were the same, and I don't know which one I dreamed, and I don't know if I dreamt the normal one or the other one. And that was the weird part, is to this day I can't tell you if what happened, or if what happened and why I had this weird thing when I was sleeping there, because it seemed very real. I could taste the tea, so it seems like a very real memory. Do not know what it is to this day, but it's like you have a memory and you kind of realize something happened, but then you wake up and then you realize your memory is split into 2 ways. And what I remember is getting to the parking lot, taking the hike, going up Bluff Springs, and then there's a point where it just diverges. And in one memory I had at that time, because now the woman sticks through. That's the one that just feels like the real thing. But the other one was there in my head that nothing happened. I just had a dream. And then I thought it was weird because I said, yeah, but the dream seemed far more vivid. And I felt totally dehydrated. My stomach was acidic. My mouth was completely dry. It felt like someone had dosed me with some peyote or mescaline. So I was like, I feel the after effect of everything. So who knows what happened that day? Strange occurrence. I'm sure other people have it. It wasn't a portal. It wasn't a vortex. Just some crazy Mexican lady that dosed me with mescaline. And somehow I figured I'd weigh out my way out of the mountains. So there you go. Not necessarily paranormal, supernatural, or whatever you think it is. But it was, and it did happen. And I'm here. I'm actually not too far, probably too far from where I was parked when I woke up. Who knows? Maybe I'm standing in the same spot I smoked a cigarette all those years ago after that. But brought that one to mind because I thought it's kind of an unusual story. And I'm not quite sure till to this day, I don't talk about it much because I'm never quite sure what to make of it. It sounds kind of like, to me, it almost feels like it's like what did happen and half of it's BS to me. But there it is. Another edition of Chasing Legends. Hope to join you next week. Until the next time, always remember, I'm Wayne Tuttle. These are the Superstition Mountains. And this was Chasing Legends.